was this our first conference of the year, and there's an event we're going to look to be holding at least every 3 months. So the next one is going to come up in September. I believe the second week in September. So there'll be another one. Hopefully, we're going to get a good venue, and then people will come and watch it and be part of it live. And also, if you want to be part of the ministry, feel free to send me an email on info@housewithoutwars.org.uk. That's info@housewithoutwars.org.uk. We are a registered non-for-profit business with a company house in England. So we are registered. So we are accountable to the government as well. So feel free to be part of us. If you want to join us in any way, feel free to be part of it. Feel free to email us. Feel free to check out our website. It's housewithoutwars.org.uk. There'll be more information on what we do and what we're all about. This is a ministry. This is a teaching ministry. Our vision is that through the simplicity of the gospel, through teaching the simplicity of the gospel, everyone will come to the knowledge of what they are saved from, what they are saved into, and what purpose they are saved for. So that is our vision. That is what we start. That's what we aim to go to do. And also, we got different events and mission trips coming up by the end of July, first week in August. We as a ministry is hoping to go to Romania for 2 weeks on a mission. And also in August, between the 22nd of August and the last weekend in August, we plan to be in Kenya supporting my friend in their ministry in the work they're doing there. So please join us and be part of us. We're looking for partnership in any form, in any shape. So you're all welcome. Thank you for joining me. And for this session, we still continue our study on understanding the time and season. So if you missed it, please go back and watch the first session. It's on Facebook. It's both on my personal profile and also on the ministry's page. And also the teaching is also on YouTube. So please feel free to watch and have a catch up so you won't miss anything from the session. Let me just do a quick recap of what we covered in the first session. I explained that we live in a time and season. We are governed by time and season. According to the book of Genesis chapter 8 verse 20, that said, as long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and winter will not cease. So there is always a season. And we as human beings, we are also governed by season and by time. And for us not to understand, and for us not to have a knowledge of the time and season that we are in, will cause us to be frustrated. Will bring about depression. Will bring about people living their life as if they're in a hamster wheel, all going round and round in circles and going nowhere. But that is not the life that God has called us. For Bible says in the book of John chapter 10 verse 10 that the enemy comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But Christ said that he came to give us life and life in abundance. An abundant life is covered, is enveloped in time and season. For if you don't know the time and the season that you're living in, how would you know what to do? In the first session, we looked at the men, the sons of Issachar, both in the book of Genesis chapter 49, verse 14 and 15, and the book of First Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32. Bible says that sons of Issachar are men that have understanding of the time, and say, and their brethren, where are their command? Now let's dive from where we stopped in the book of Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6. That's where we're going to start this session from. Isaiah 33 and verse 6. It said, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of the times, and the strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. It says, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of your times. Now, it didn't just say time, it said times. So that means it's a period of seasons that we go through. But if you don't have wisdom about it, if you don't have knowledge about it, how will you be stable? Bible talked about in the book of James. It says some people are like a wind tossed to and fro. He said a man that has doubt in his mind is like one that's been tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine. A lot of people today, that's what we go through. That's who we are. That's what we are. We go through life. We go through life with nothing to accomplish. We go through life with no purpose. People come into our lives, but we don't know the reason why they are there. We think that everybody is a passenger in our life. Some people come into your life for a purpose. Some people come into your life for a time, for a specific time in your life. They are there. But when that time is over, they move on. But human beings will always try to recapture the things that have gone past. But there's a time for us to let go. There is a time to let go of certain friendship. There is a time when something is no longer profitable to you. It is time to let go. How can you fit in a shoe that you wore as a baby? As a child, you go through times. You go through seasons. You go through life. The time your mom has to look after you, to the time that you get to the point that you start providing for yourself. We go through time and season. For wisdom and knowledge, the Bible says, shall be the stability of your time. If you go through the book of Proverbs, it talks about that through wisdom a house is built, by knowledge is established. And by understanding, the chambers are filled with all precious things. But if you don't understand where you are in life, how will you know how to make the next move? If you don't understand where you are now, how will you plan for the future? Bible says, go to the end. The book of Proverbs chapter 6 says, go to the end, use slogan, and consider his ways. For in the summer he gathered his food. He gathered his food for later. Bible says, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of hands leads to poverty. But if you don't know where you are, you will think life will just pass you by. That is not the life that God has ordained for you. For we are told in the book of Romans chapter 8 that God works, that everything works for good for them that love God and for those that are called according to his purpose. But if you don't know the time and the season that you're living in, how will the things work out for good for you? Now we're going to try and look at the things that will hinder you from fulfilling the time and the season you're living. That's one thing called fear. Fear is going to stop you from fulfilling it. Fear will stop when things happen. Fear comes into your mind first. What am I going to do? When negative circumstances happens in your life, when something negative happens, fear strikes your heart. What will I do next? How will you react to it? Remember that when the first time fear was mentioned in the Bible was when man sinned against God. In the book of Genesis chapter 3, he said, I heard your voice and now was afraid. So fear is an absence of God. When God is not present in your life, when God is not present in your thought, when God is not present in your heart, fear will set in. And when fear sets in, people start making irrational decisions and try to form alliance with things that are not helpful for them. Fear can stop you. There is the fear of the unknown, and there is the fear from yesterday. That is the fear that has been built into us by our parents when we are growing up. that will stop you. There's nothing more difficult for the job than for the job that you love so much to stop unexpectedly when you're not prepared for it. It happened to me like few occasions. Twice I've lost my job in the past. And it's like, whoa, what am I going to do next? And actually one of them, I knew it was time to move on. But I stayed a bit longer. And that happens to us. When you stay in a place a day or two longer than you're meant to be there, it's never good. It's good to be moving. My friends say I have this, like I move around a lot. I have this kind of, is it like a 10th generation? Like in the Bible, they live from 10 to 10th. They go to a place, they build, they establish, they build houses, they raise their cattle, they raise their family. But when it's time to move on, they just pack up and move. That is the life we are called to live. That when that season finishes and it's time for you to move to the next season, you don't think about that season that just passed. Because when you think about it too long, the temptation to remain will be so strong that you won't be able to move to your next season. Let's read the book of Hebrews chapter 11 about the heroes of faith. Hebrews 11. Let's go to the end. Let me see if I can find out, bring it. If you go to from verse 37, I'm just going to summarize what he said. He talked about the heroes of faith. He said, in their own time, they looked for the city and a country whose builder and maker was the Lord. And he said, if they had occasion to think about where they're coming from, they wouldn't have accomplished it. But they kept moving. They always kept searching, looking for this thing that God has called them to do, because they know that God has something better prepared for them. But they never allowed fear to stop them. When it's time to move, it's time to move on. If you stay a day or two longer, it's not good. Let me read from a quote from the book I'm reading. It said, to finite human beings, time and space seems infinite. But this is because we are on the inside looking out. God is on the outside looking in. Time and space are finite part of his creation. Now for us, we look at time and season, it's as if we can't understand it. Because we are looking at it from inside. We are there, we can't see, we can't picture it. But God has seen the beginning. The Bible says he sees the beginning of it. He knows the end from the beginning. When God called Abraham to leave his country and leave everything that he knew it was time to move, and he moved. There's a beautiful story in the book of Genesis. I love it. It's a story between Jacob and Laban. Jacob served Laban for 14 years for two sisters. He found them and he loved one. One appeared to him. The younger one he loved. And he asked Laban, what can I do? Say, I'm going to serve you 7 years for this one. And after 7 years, he was given the one he didn't choose. So he had to serve another 7 years, that's 14 years, and he married two sisters. And he served Laban all the time of his, and kind of helped Laban to become prosperous and become famous. But a time came, he went to Laban and said, Laban, I want to go. I have provided for you. I have served you all these years. He said, when can I provide for my own house? If you read that story, he said that Laban has changed his wages several times. Now, I don't know if the change means to increase it or to decrease it, but I believe it's to increase it. But he wanted to, that it was time for him to move on. It was time for him to leave. And he left. When it's time for you to go, when it's time for you to take the next step in your life, please don't allow fear to stop you. Don't allow doubt to creep into your heart because you don't know what's going to happen next. But if you go to God, God will open your eyes for you to see that there is greater things in store for you and I. When it's time to move on, it is time to move on. As was said in the first session, Jesus rebuked the Pharisees and the Sadducees because they understood the times and the weather and the seasons, but they never understood the time of the Son of God. Let's read the book of John, I believe Luke chapter 19. We read the first time. I'm going to read John 7. No, let's look at Luke 19. Luke 19, 40 to 44. Luke 19, verse 40 to 44. Verse 40, and he answered and said unto them, I tell you that if they should hold their peace, the stones will immediately cry out. And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it. Why? Saying, if thou hast known, even thou at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thy eyes. For the days shall come upon thee, that thine enemy shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round about, and cave thee in on every side, and shall lay thee even with the ground, thy children with thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knowest not the time of thy visitation. It's about knowing the time that God will visit you. It's about knowing the time that God will promote it. It's about knowing the time that God will increase it. It's about knowing the time and season that you are in. I tell you, fear will come, because the picture of tomorrow will not be revealed to you in its totality, but bit by bit, because the Bible said that the steps of the righteous man is like a shining light that shineth brighter and brighter unto a perfect day. Where God is taking you is exceedingly glorious and wonderful compared to where you've been or where you're coming from. For his plan and his thoughts for you are for good, not for evil, to give you a hope and a future. Jeremiah chapter 11 verse 29. Or 29 verse 11. For I know the thought that I think towards you, thought of good and not of evil, to give you a hope and a future. But you must know with the time and the season. Another thing that will hinder you from knowing the time and the season that you're living in is about your heart, what you allow to affect your heart. People you allow to give you counsel and advice, they will stop you. They will hinder you. So that is why it's good for you to surround yourself with people of like mind, people that believe in the same thing that you believe in. But if you have negative people around you, they will give you 1,001 reasons why you shouldn't take that next step. But I tell you, if you overcome that stage, it will be wonderful and it will be glorious. We know the story about Joseph when he had visions and he told it to his brothers and his dad. They were like, what do you mean? How can this happen? But about more than 5-10 years later, the vision that he had came to pass. Even David, in his own time, the same thing. So for us to live, and when he fought Goliath, they considered as a babe and made fun of it. Even Goliath poked fun at him and said, am I a dog that you come with a stone? Don't allow fear. Bible says, guide your heart with all diligence, for out of it comes the issues of life. Romans chapter 12 it talked about the renewal of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and that perfect will of God. I've done teachings on our mind, the part our mind plays on our development. I've done teachings about guarding your heart. I've done teachings about knowing who God is. For God is the author and the finisher of our faith. For without God, we can do nothing. For with Him, all things are possible. Paul said we shouldn't have confidence in the flesh. We shouldn't have confidence. Don't trust on your own flesh to lead and help you. Bible talks about to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritual minded is life and peace. Remember, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of your times and the strength of salvation. Fear, don't allow fear to rob you of your time and season. Don't allow people to rob you of your time and your season, because you have no one else to blame but yourself. He said, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor sitteth in the seat of discomfort, nor standeth in the ways. But his delight is in the law of the law, and this law he meditated day and night. For he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of waters, that bring forth his fruit in his season. Joshua 1:8, he said, this book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but thou shalt meditate upon it day and night, for you may observe to do according to all that's written in it. For then you shall make your way prosperous, and then you shall have good success. Like we read in the first section, in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9, he said, the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor yet favor to men us wise, but time and chance happens to them all. And God is the author. And God is the author. It takes you knowing God. It takes you being grounded and establishing God for you to know the time and the season that you're living. For Bible says you shall know the truth, and the truth you know shall set you free. And Christ said, I am the truth, the way, the light, and no one comes to God except through me. So everything about us revolves is in God. Everything about us, our time and season, is in Him. And for us to know it is for us to know God. For eyes have not seen, nor ears heard, nor has it entered into the heart of men the things that God has prepared for them that love Him. But thank God Almighty that God by His Spirit has revealed this unto us. For it is the Spirit that searches the deep things of God. So I call upon you this afternoon to seek after God. I encourage you this afternoon to seek after God. For in Him is the beginning, and in Him is the end. For He knows you, and He knows me. Let's not trust in people. Bible says in the multitude of counsel there is safety. Thank you for joining me on this road trip of discovering and understanding the time and season that we live in. Please feel free to email your questions or your thoughts either on the Facebook page, or send us an email on info@housewithoutwars.org.uk, and I'll endeavor to answer every question. Join me. I'll see you guys again on Monday as we go back to our gospel, our truth reality. which is our weekly Bible teaching. And hopefully, I'll see you again on another episode of Gospel Russia. God bless you and have a wonderful afternoon. Amen.